We're back. This is part B of the series on turning a set of stacked boxes. In this one we're going to make the lids. So I laid out the tools I'm going to use, back to just a basic 3/8 bowl gouge, which I do most of my work with. I have 3 different parting tools here. I know I'm going to need this wider one because it's really good for cutting tenons nice and square. I know I'm going to need a thinner one for parting off, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to use one of these I made from my industrial hacksaw blade or a commercial one, which is just a little bit bigger, slightly wider, but I've got it as an option. My habit is to always do a little decorative mark on the pieces I turn, so I got my diamond point tool. And because I'm always sizing and measuring things, I brought a set of vernier calipers. Basically what I'm using is the inside and outside measurements to transfer. I don't much care what the dial says. I'm not doing things to a specific dimension, although you could. This is a little bit better than the set I used last time, and the reason I brought it is these points are sharp, and so I can scribe a mark on the end of my billet much more readily. The other older ones, these cheap ones that I picked up at the hardware store, I literally am going to go and sharpen these 2 phases here so these points get sharp again, and I can start transferring. Well, we had 3 boxes. They were roughly the same size, and what I'm going to do is make lids for them. I found a piece of Osage orange. If you look at this, it's gorgeous grain, and we're going to use it for our lids. I've cut a couple of pieces. One I've already turned around and put in the chuck. I've got a backup piece here in case we need it, probably not. This is more than enough to make the 3 lids. Now the things we have to remember is the lid is going to sit down inside this box a certain amount. We're going to have to account for that. First lid, it can be any shape I want, and we probably are going to use that. It's just slightly larger than the box, and that's going to be fine because I'm going to make it match the edge here. So I'm going to cut this tenon, put it down inside. The second box, I've already kind of figured out how deep things need to be, and I've already shortened the second box ready to go ahead with its lid. But the third box, the one down inside, is going to need to be reduced in size, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. So basically right now, all I need is box number 1, the other 2 will set to the side and out of the way. So we need a tenon to go down inside here. Remember to cut this wall straight, so that tenon should fit pretty well. And here I go with my calipers. I need that dimension, so I'm going to set it, lock it off, and I know that that is the inside diameter I need to work with. Let's clear the deck. I'm going to need these 2 tools to do most of that work with. So the other ones are to the side, and I'm going to come over here, mark this across the end. At center. Speed is down to 0. Let's go to work. Inside dimension. I moved the calipers 3 times until I got it centered properly, so I know which mark I'm using. I don't need these anymore. Set them to the side. And now I'm going to cut that tenon. Use my bowl gouge a little bit to create its length. And then I'll use the parting tool to square it off, and then we'll start sizing. Well, I've already gotten too aggressive, and I've created a tenon that's too small. The lid's too loose. I don't want that. So I'll create a taper. I don't need this. Saw my tool rest slip. Tighten it up. Take away the part I don't need. All that'll go away. And I'll get it hollowed out in a minute. This is the inside of the lid, or going to be the inside of the lid. Okay, let's try fitting it. Tapered. Almost got it. Now I'm going to burnish a mark so I know exactly what the right size is going to be. I'm going to want this lid to fit a little bit snug, so when I pick up the box it doesn't fall off, but not so snug that I have to work to pull it off. So I'm going to have to go to the touch, and that's my sandpaper fit eventually. So let's get this sized first. Now I know where to go. See, that's a little too snug. This is the point at which the tendency is to cut too deeply, too fast. Oh, I need some more off of there. Go for it. That's a little tighter than I'm actually going to have it, but I'm going to leave it there for a minute because I now have to shape down the outside to fit to that box and cut it off and then do the other side. Now I can make jam chucks, or I can actually use the box as a jam chuck, which is what I'm going to do. So let me now hollow out the inside of this lid, because I'm going to make it a hollow lid. And then I'm going to part it off. If I cut slowly and cleanly, I'm going to reduce the amount of sanding I have to do. Now, because I've taken wood out of the inside, I may have changed the fit. It may have gotten looser, and it did not yet. It may. So I'm going to sand that, decorate it. So let's do that right now. 180. I'm not going to touch this edge. 240. Almost did. I'll just hop to 400 again. bit of decorative polish, clean up that surface a little bit, give it a color. It's my Triple E Ultra Shine that I've used in the last video. A little paper towel to clean it up. And now, a couple marks to identify it. 1, 2, 3. So the inside's done. And now we're going to do shaping of it. I'm going to go with the large parting tool since it happens to be here. Not ready to part it off. I'm really going to shape the outside a little bit here. And let's see what tool I can use for that. Use a shallow fluted gouge to kind of create a little bit of a bead here. The purpose of the wide parting tool is to give me enough room to work with this. Now I want to make sure this just fits. And that's a little bigger than I want it. I'm reluctant to turn it with that on there, but I'm going to try it. Just take this down a bit. Okay, I just wanted to fit it. And I got a mark so I know where the fit is, and I can now safely finish taking it down. And back to the bead. As I said, this is the first lid, so I can do anything I want to on this shape. The other ones are going to be restricted to some extent. We'll see how much of it I can do before I have to turn it around. Let's check that. Yeah, fits right there. That's what I wanted. I wanted to fit like that. And then this is going to just end up being a bead. So now we can part it off. I'm going to use one of the narrower parting tools, and I'm going to kind of come in around like that and see if I can continue to work on that bead shape with my parting tool. Create some working room. Instead of parting straight down, you see my body motion. I'm parting around a corner. Instead of undercutting, I'm cutting it the opposite direction. Now, still a little bit of wood there. This gives me a chance to do some sanding on the outside. Get rid of any of my tool marks if I can. Not touching the tenon, I'm touching everything but, I hope. And 180 grit. Kind of looking to see if the shape's okay. and see what I can fix with that. 240. Let's go to 400. I can't polish it here yet, but I'll be able to do that in a minute. I notice on the bottom of my tenon a little bit of a mark that I don't like. That should take care of that. Now I'm going to leave it a little tight for a second. You'll see why in a minute. Now I'll part it off. And you see I've got almost all of it done except for just that center. Boy, that's beautiful grain. So now I've got two choices. I can make a jam chuck out of this and fit it. Or I can do something that probably is not highly recommended, but I'm going to do it anyway, and that is to actually chuck the box itself. And if I don't grab it too tight, I doubt if I'll leave a mark. If I do, I can sand it away. Just tight enough. I can put the lid on and finish sanding. Back to my 180. Now, not pushing across this at all. When you push it all, it's towards the headstock. And all the work is being done right here in the center, where the wood is hardly moving at all. So this takes longer to sand than any place else on this lid. Hitting that edge, I know I'm hitting the box a little bit, and that's okay, because I'm going to touch all this up together. I just want that to match. Okay. Let's make it look nice. Right up to where I hit the box too. A little bit of a wipe. Now, I don't want it quite that tight. See what I mean? So I've got to loosen that up a little bit. Here's how I'm going to do it. Not the lid inside the box until I like the fit. That's it. That's it. And I did scratch the bottom a little bit. The lid comes right off. There's the look of that. And I can go back to my original jam chuck for this, or, and I'll just do it on this one, but you'll see how I can do it on other boxes too. Go back to this chuck, expand. Very easily resand this now, and I'm probably 240 and 400 is probably going to be sufficient. let's redo the whole box on that 240. And you can see I'm holding it on. Just yeah, the chuck was a little bit loose. So we'll just refinish this, and we can do this on each of the boxes. Tightening the jaws to get it out. There's box number 1. Now, I'll need to keep this handy because box number 2 has to account for this height, the distance is set down inside, plus the thickness of the next lid. So I've already accounted for that by cutting the length of the next box down so I can do that. So we'll make lid number 2 exactly the same way. Now, calipers, box number 2, inside diameter, the lid fit. There it is. Lock it. I'm going to clean the face up before I mark it. I need to have a nice surface that'll show that mark. Too tight, which is what we want right at the moment. And I'm going to size this down. It can't be bigger than this or it won't go inside, so it has to come down in diameter. So we have box 2, box 1. There we go. Now, we got to go for box 3. And the difference here is, box 3 has to be cut down. So I'm going to add one additional step. So I'm going to do everything I did before twice, except I'm going to add one more step about cutting the length of this down a little bit. So I'll be back in a couple minutes to show you that particular aspect. Okay. I've had to cut the second box down considerable length in order to accommodate the thickness of this tenon and the thickness of this lid. So when I put the lid on this second box, set it down in here, I have just enough clearance for this to set in there. I'm going to have to do the same thing again for box number 3, which has not been cut down yet. So I don't need the first box, but I do need this box, but not right now. I'm going to make the lid first and then cut the length of this down to the height needed so it'll fit. So that's one of the last steps I'm going to do. So I'll set it up here. I'm going to need this. First of all, same thing as we've done before. What's the size of this tenon need to be? There we go. Lock it off, and we're going to repeat the same steps we've just done on the first 2 boxes. Cleaned up the piece of wood so I can get a nice clear mark. And there it is. I'm done with the calipers. This is nice wood to be working with. So, ball gouge. Let's turn the tool rest a little bit differently. So now, it's a little tight for the box. It's okay, we can fix that. So now I know to get the height right. I know it's got to fit into here. Let's use the calipers to kind of visualize this. So there's the depth of the next box, of the second box. I have to take off of that the thickness of this lid, which is about down to there. Now I have to take off the thickness of this lid, and I'm just using the calipers to estimate. That's about 4/10. 1, 2, 3, 4/10. So the height of the inside of the box can't be any more than that. And we have an 1/8 inch bottom, so we add that 1/8 inch in here. It's another 125 thousandths. That's 5, 6, 25. So we've got to cut the box down to right there. So that's what we're going to have to do next. I can put this in a chuck like we just did before. See if it'll fit in here. I don't think it will. I think I'll have to go to the number 1 jaws. Oh no, it will. Okay, where's my mark? There's my mark. Now, how am I going to cut this off? It's a thin wall, and there's a way I've been doing it that seems to work just fine, and that is to use my skew chisel. And I'm going to do a V-cut right on that mark. Left, right, until I cut through, but very, very lightly. Okay, we're running a little crooked. See if I can run that, straighten that up just a bit. Yeah, that did it. Don't need that anymore. Just a bit more tension there. And I see my mark. Now, all the cuts are going to be from the right side because that's the waist side. Little V cut. It's going to go flying in a second. And that'll be just fine. Gone. Now let's flatten this edge off very lightly, very carefully. And before we take it out of the chuck, well, actually we have to take it out of the chuck, don't we? I need to, might as well fit this lid while I'm at it. It no longer fits, so we need a little 180. We'll smooth up the edge while we're at it. But I got to put the lid on, put it in the next box to see if the height is right. We may have to make a small adjustment, or not. We'll see. A little snug still. I don't want it quite that tight. So now let's stack them and see if it works. We'll do it here. Lid, got it. So now we can stack it into number 1 and lid it. So there is a set of 3 boxes lidded And you can see how I had to make adjustments on that third box. It's best to work from the largest down to the smallest. Lid it, measure it, cut it. Lid it, measure it, cut it down, 1, 2, 3. So this completes part B of this series of box making. I'm sure as you watch this you could think of other ways to do the same tasks, and that's terrific because the idea is for you to have fun in your shop working on ideas of your own creation. Where are we going to go next? Well, we did a 2-part box series. I'd like to do a hollow vessel. But I think what I'd like to do, what about that size? Now that hollow vessel was made on 2 faceplates with 5 pieces of wood and 2 pieces of veneer, and I'll show you how I did that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We appreciate your comments also. Thanks. We'll see you next time.